In front of me, we have my most anticipated piece of DJ gear that we got to preview at NAMM this year. This is the Rane 1 Mark II 2-channel motorized platter DJ controller for Serato. And let's start off with the hardware specs of this thing. So let's start with the back of the controller. We have our main outputs on XLR as well as RCA. We have booth outputs on XLR as well. Normally they're on 1/4 inch jacks. Some people might like that, some people may not, but I love the fact that at least it's not on RCA. Then each channel has a phono line switchable input. Next to that, we also have an aux input that also has an EQ, which is something you don't see very often. Then we have 2 mic inputs on combo XLR jacks, both of them having EQ and one of them having effects as well, which is really nice. On the front of the controller, we have the mic control section with level and EQ, like I described. Then we have a sampler level knob, which was missing on the original Rane 1 Mark I, so that's a nice addition. Then we have our channel fader contour controls with reverse. And then we have the crossfader contour with reverse as well. Then we have finally our Q section with the Q mix knob with split Q, then both sides of headphone inputs. Now for the face of the controller, let's start with the deck section. At the top, on the left side, we have a browse section. Then we have a sensor/silent Q button, which is really nice. We'll get into that later. Then instead of the touch strip that we saw on the Rane 1 Mark I, they've replaced it with an auxiliary pad mode, which is really nice. Then moving down from that, we have the really nice 7.2 inch motorized platter, which is basically a shrunken down Rane 12. I really enjoy the feel of these motorized platters, much like I did with my Rane 12s. And then of course we have a stop time with that nice platter. Then moving down even further, we have our acapella instrumental buttons. Then we have the pitch slider with range adjustment on the right side. Then towards the bottom of the deck section, we have the normal things. So we have a start and stop button. In the turntable style, we have a Q button, sync button, a shift button to get to extra features on this controller. We have your 8 pads with different pad modes that we've seen. It's pretty standard now for Serato. Then we have parameter buttons, then a loop on and off section with halve and double. And then of course, finally, we have our pitch bends to pitch up and pitch down really quickly and really cleanly. Now let's move on to the mixer section, which is pretty standard, but also is where the biggest change of this new Mark II version is. But let's start at the top. Here we have your line selector to switch from USB-A to USB-B. Then we also have our 3-band EQ with a gain at the top. We have your main output and booth output control knobs for the volume. Then we have the switches for hardware and software effects, as well as a button to turn on effects for that one mic input. Below that, we have the biggest change. Instead of just having software effects controls, we now have the full suite of Rane hardware effects, which sound great and fixes my biggest issue with the first version of this controller. We'll get more in depth with that a little bit later. Then to the right and left of that, under the EQ section, we have our channel effects. We'll get into that a little bit later as well. Then you have your paddles that feel really nice. The same paddles that we've seen on a lot of the other DJ gear from Rane. Really high quality, really sturdy. Moving down to the fader section, we have our Q buttons for each channel to listen on our headphone Q section. The new upgrade for this controller, instead of the old channel faders, we now have the precision feel of faders that we found on the Rane Performer that have a better build quality. And then finally at the bottom, we have my favorite crossfader on any piece of DJ gear, the Mag 4 crossfader that we've seen on pretty much all the modern Rane products. So with the hardware specs out of the way, let's talk about how this DJ controller interacts with Serato DJ and what makes it so special and what makes it different from other DJ controllers on the market. And a lot of that starts here with the pad section. We have our normal 8-pad section with pad modes, but the pad modes are where the differences happen. So let's just go through them. So of course we have hot cue. Then if we double tap, we get pitch play. Then we have save loop. I don't have any of those saved. If we double tap, we go to auto loop, which is pretty standard. Then we have roll, which is pretty standard as well. But if I double tap roll, now we get the first new pad mode. This is stem roll, a new way to interact with stems on this controller with Serato DJ. And what this does is you have your 4 stem sections here at the top, then you have your roll at the bottom. So say I wanted to roll just the drums and the vocals. Or maybe just the drums. Really cool new way to interact with stems that we haven't seen before, which gives some new creative possibilities. Then of course we have sampler, standard. If I double tap, we have our scratch decks. Then we have stems on this last pad mode. That's pretty standard, but notice this bottom row isn't lit up yellow like you'd see on most other Serato hardware. And that's because if we double tap stems, we now have stem effects, and we have more of them than just your normal echo out and turntable stop. So if we go ahead and play, same kind of setup. I select which stems I want to affect. Then these bottom pads are the different effects. So of course we have echo out. Then we have a scale down. Then we have a breaker. Then we have a delay. Really cool new way to interact with stems. Again, first seen here on the Rane 1 Mark II. Then the next difference are these buttons right here. We have our acapella and instrumental buttons, which we've seen before. But the big difference here is that normally these buttons are just instant on and off for acapella or instrumental. But now we get that echo out that we usually get in the stems effects mode. Really nice. You can also have it the normal way that you'd find it on other pieces of Serato hardware, but I think this is going to be most people's preferred way to use it. Next, here we have our normal sensor or reverse, but you can also make it silent cue. And for someone that really never uses the sensor function with Serato, or the reverse I should say, having it as silent cue and having it a button away instead of having to dig through different pad or button combinations to get there, really nice. Makes it a lot easier to use such a useful feature. Then of course, another huge change is the fact that they removed the touch strip here at the top to replace it with another set of auxiliary pads. And each of these have different modes. So of course we have hot cue. Then we have scratch bank, which I have set 1, set 2. Then our sampler. Then we have access to stems as well. Really nice. Then we also have secondary mode, so I could get beat jump up here if I wanted, which is super handy since I use beat jump a lot. Then we have access to stem roll. And then we have access to stem effects as well. And then we have our auto loops. Really nice way to get to all of the different functions, so we can have multiple pad modes going on at once. I know a lot of DJs out there like having stems on one pad mode and just having the cues here, especially with using like an S11 and CDJs. Really handy to be able to get to both at the same time. So that's much appreciated. And then going to the mixer section, let's just start with the biggest change, and that's the inclusion of hardware effects. As I mentioned, this is the same kind of hardware effect setup that we've seen on the Rane 4, the Performer, very similar to the setup on the battle mixers such as the 70 and 72. So while you only have 6 buttons here to select effects, you can hold it down and actually dial in dozens of different effects. So you don't just have access to 6, you have access to a lot more effects and very nice sounding effects as well. I love the effects that Rane has come up with hardware wise in this generation of DJ gear. And I love the flexibility because you can high pass filter, you can control the depth, just a lot of detail going into those. And another huge feature that they added to this is the channel effects. So of course, I can turn it on, which is also really nice. But besides filter, if I hit shift, I can change it to 3 other options. So we have our filter roll, we have noise, flanger, back to filter. And I love the fact that there's an on and off button. That's a feature that I use a lot on the Pioneer like 900 or A9, where I can just turn the filter on and off instead of having to roll it back and forth. Really good for, you know, dropping out vocals or dropping out whatever. I love that option. And then, of course, something I really wish Serato would figure out a way to put on pretty much all the gear is not only are these EQs, but if I hit shift and I hit the Q button, these are now stem EQs. So I can take out the drums, I can take out the melodies, or I can take out the vocal. And not only can I take it out, I can actually boost it too, since it is an EQ. Really handy, and if I want to turn it off, just hit shift, hit the Q again, and I'm back to regular EQ. Of course, these are full kill EQ with a plus 10 dB on the other side. Overall, this controller gives you control of pretty much every feature that you need in Serato DJ, on top of additional features that are only available with the Rane 1 Mark II, such as the stem roll and the stem effects. Really nice, makes me wish that other pieces of gear had those features as well. And on top of just having amazing build quality that Rane has had over the years, these great motorized platters, I actually prefer these ones over the kind of platters that you get on the Rane Performer. These have more of a turntable feel, definitely, especially with the backspin and just the overall feel of it. If you DJ'd on turntables before and maybe you weren't really liking the feel of the Pioneer Rev 7 or the Rane Performer because those jog wheels are just a little bit different, these definitely give a more authentic turntable feel. If you're looking for that, I definitely pick this over something like the Rev 7 or Performer. And speaking of those, let's talk about price. This thing comes in at $14.99, the original price of the original Rane 1 Mark II. And that's a lot of features for the kind of money that you're buying this controller for, right? Where the Rev 7 and the Performer, you're pushing $2,000 plus. For $500 less, if you're only using 2 channels anyway, which most DJs are that are buying a motorized platter controller, I would say this is a bargain, and this is a better buy than the Performer or the Rev 7. That's just my personal take. I love the fact that it's a little bit smaller. I love the fact that the platters are better. The build quality, I always really enjoy a metal build quality over plastic for various reasons, even though Pioneer's gear has shown to be able to take, you know, years of use and abuse. But for the money, it's really hard to beat this if you're looking for a motorized platter controller right now. And especially you add on the extra features that only this controller has right now. This is definitely my favorite 2-channel Serato DJ controller on the market. And I'm curious to see what the response is going to be from all the other DJ hardware manufacturers, you know, even what Rane has next, but what's going to be the response to this. But if you're looking for something that's 2 channels with motorized platters and you love that turntable feel, really hard to beat the Rane 1 Mark II. Well, that's all I got for this in-depth review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, please be sure to subscribe to this channel. And of course, shout out to all my patrons on Patreon. I'll go ahead and post you guys right here. And if you're looking for more DJ related content, such as extra video content and DJ edits here and there, definitely check out my Patreon. I'll leave a link down in the description below. And of course, if you're looking for more DJ content on this channel, click on one of the videos right here, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.